Now we're recording. Okay, I told you backwards. So this is all written out if you want to go back to the video. Here's what we got. We said that A was -4. We're good to go there. A is -4. So that means I need f of t plus 4 to be what I have, because A is -4. I need f of t plus 4 to be t squared plus 6t. That's what I'm looking for. And therefore, here's where you have to think about it backwards. You got to plug in a t minus 4 to get stuff to cancel. I told either breakout room number 1 or breakout room number 2 wrong. I don't remember which one it is, and you don't have to admit that it was wrong, and I won't admit that I told you it wrong. But you got to go backwards. You have to go backwards. So that means we have as a function t squared minus 8t plus 16 plus 6t minus 24 backwards. And so therefore you can simplify that to t squared minus 2t minus 8. T squared minus 2t minus 8. And that means that my capital G of S is e to the 4s, not negative, because A is 4. E to the 4s times 2 over s cubed minus 2 over s squared minus 8 over s. Think about it backwards. You need to go backwards. Okay, questions on that one before we make it even harder? It's great. Anything for questions on that one? I can only see some of you, so you got to do a virtual hand raise. Anything for questions on that one? Okay, next up, here's our next one, and it's going to get more complicated. Let's do this one. We have, for example, G of t is 1 if t is less than 2, and it's t if t is greater than or equal to 2. G of t is 1 if t is less than 2, and it is t if t is greater than or equal to 2. This is a problem because I don't have a 0 at the top, and I need to have a 0 at the top. So let's make a 0 at the top. Instead, let's look at G of t minus 1. I want a 0 on the top. I can deal with a 0 on the top as long as that happens. So I'm going to make a 0 on the top. We're going to get 0 if t is less than 2, and t minus 1 if t is greater than or equal to 2. Okay, so I'm going to make a 0 on the top. Yes, I've screwed things up. We're going to address that at the very, very end. But for right now, let's just deal with the fact that I screwed things up and do this example. Now we're in a good spot. We should totally be able to figure out what we want to do, and this is another good opportunity to think backwards. So A is equal to 2 in this case. My A is 2, right? And so what I need is f of t minus 2 to equal t minus 1. That's what I need in this case. I need f of t minus 2 to equal t minus 1. And so therefore, f of t backwards, t plus 2 minus 1. So f of t is t plus 2 minus 1. Or if you simplify that, that is t plus 1. Okay, so my f of t is t plus 1 in this case. I can find my capital F of S. Front of your book, that's going to be 1 over s squared plus 1 over s. Front of your book. All right, front of your book. And so therefore, if I do my transform, e to the negative 2s times 1 over s squared plus 1 over s. So that's the same as the example that we just did. We got to fix that minus 1 that we had in the beginning, but that last 6 lines should be the same as the previous couple examples that we did. Last 6 lines should be the same idea. Okay, now here's the problem. What we found was the transform of this new left-hand side. So we did not find capital G of S. What we found was capital G of S minus 1 over S. The 1 over S comes from the transform of 1, right? We don't just have a little g of t on the left-hand side. We've got some extra stuff. So what we found was the transform of capital G of S and then minus a 1 over S. Everybody see where that minus 1 over S is coming from? It's coming from this minus 1 right here. See that? So this bottom line is really equal to capital G of S minus 1 over S. That's what we just found. So I just have to subtract or add the 1 over S to the other side of the equation to get what I wanted. That's all that I really have to do. And so in order to do that, my final answer here is that capital G of S is e to the negative 2s, 1 over s squared plus 1 over s, and then plus that extra 1 over s to get stuff back to the other side of the equation. So if you don't have a 0, that's okay. It's not a problem. You can make a 0, and your left-hand side is just a little bit more complicated. It's just going to have one little extra piece, and then you just have to add or subtract it to the other side to make it work. Okay, let me see you all. Let me bring you back together so that we can see if there are questions, and then I'm going to have you do another one. So, how are we doing? Jason has a question. Yes, I can go back to my whiteboard.
When we substitute in the t minus 2,
yes,
for every problem, are we always going to flip the sign then?
Yes, yep, because here's what you're dealing with, and I will have a chance to draw sailboats right here. What we always want is we want f of t minus sailboat to equal little g of t, right? That's what we're looking for if you think about a sailboat. And so therefore, we need to do f of t is t plus sailboat, or g of t plus sailboat. This might be more confusing. I don't know if this is helping or not, because then f of t minus sailboat is g of t minus sailboat plus sailboat, and they go away and they cancel to just give you g of t. So yes, you will always flip. You will always have the opposite answer. You just got to be careful because you have to do it inside. So like when we had the t squared, we had to do it inside the parentheses, and then you have to FOIL out. Okay, good, Jason, does that help? Okay, cool. All right, other people, other questions before we do one more example for today, and I divide you into breakout rooms. Other questions on this? Tomorrow we will do differential equations for real, but anything else on this? Going once, going twice. Okay, one more. Let me get it up on the whiteboard, and then again, I'll divide you into breakout rooms. Where's my next example? Let's do this one. For example, little g of t is going to be t plus 2 if t is less than 5, and t squared if t is greater than or equal to 5. Little g of t is t plus 2 if t is less than 5, t squared if t is greater than or equal to 5. Find capital G of S. T plus 2 if t is less than 5, t squared if t is bigger than or equal to 5. Find capital G of S. T plus 2 if t is less than 5, t squared if t is greater than or equal to 5. All right, I'm going to put you back into breakout rooms. Those should be open. You can go ahead and pop in there. Talk to each other, please.